Hey there, Eli again, coming at you from OSA Coventry, here today in front of our planted lagoon tank. We have been showcasing this tank a lot lately. In all honesty, we all miss the old lagoon, but this tank is just so cool. But today I kind of wanted to talk about some of the benefits of adding plants to a freshwater aquarium. There are definitely different schools of thoughts, different ways to put together a tank. And it all depends on what you're comfortable with and what your end goal is down the road. It definitely seems like lately a lot of people are trending toward doing more natural style aquariums, which is kind of where my background began. I always was into planted freshwater aquariums, and that's really what got me into this hobby. Regardless of how much I talk about saltwater fish, the planted tanks will always hold a part in my heart. Just a really fun way to kind of wrap an aquarium all together. It's a really interesting way to add some complexity to a tank. While there is certainly nothing wrong with still going with plastic inserts, plastic plants, and some of these other things that might be easier to maintain, for a lot of people, adding the plants is a level of complexity that kind of makes the hobby more enjoyable. Some of the benefits of adding live plants to the tank is you will kind of see a more natural interaction with a lot of fish species, especially when we're talking about community fish, whether that be angelfish or small schooling species, tetras, rasboras, and these sorts of things. A lot of these fish are going to behave a lot more differently when you have them in a tank that has a lot of cover and a lot of structure for these fish to interact with. So by offering the area and offering the cover for these fish to kind of swim in and out of, a lot of times you will kind of get a lot more natural behavior, and sometimes keeping a tank well planted will even make the fish a little more comfortable in your aquarium. And sometimes that is the ticket between having fish condition themselves to spawn versus just being kind of happy and content with your average aquarium. So kind of adding some of the dynamic parts of live plants, something that's always going to be changing, plants that are going to be growing and spreading throughout your aquarium, kind of offers a constantly changing ecosystem in your tank that these fish are going to appreciate. Other than that, adding live plants oftentimes will impact your water quality in terms of things such as nitrates and phosphates. All of your live plants are going to consume these. So adding plants to your aquarium generally will help to lower these numbers. Now, that's not to say that just adding 1 or 2 live plants to a large aquarium is going to make much of a difference. In a well-planted aquarium, a lot of times your need for water changes and your need for chemical filtration of the tank is kind of minimized because these plants are using a lot of the trace elements, and they're using a lot of the nitrates, the phosphates, and some of these other water contaminants out of the water column that you won't have to pull so frequently by doing water changes or adding chemicals to the tank. Whereas some people might find planted tanks a little bit daunting, it is something that not a lot of people are terribly comfortable with, and it seems like it might be a major step into adding levels of complexity to your tank that not everyone is comfortable with. There are definitely ways to get your feet wet with the planted aquarium that aren't going to make it too difficult for you. As long as you really focus on setting your tank up with a proper substrate, something like the fluval stratum or the EcoComplete or even Seachem fluorite substrate, something that's going to be a little more nutritious for your heavy root feeders, and starting out with suitable lighting to grow plants, something of a full spectrum that offers the right cues for these plants to grow. Generally, you won't have a hard time starting with some of the easy stuff. A lot of your stem plants like Bacopa, some of your Ludwigias, Rotala, are very tolerant plants, and they're going to do well under a wide variety of conditions as long as you meet those minimal requirements of having a good substrate and having decent lighting in the tank. Compatibility with certain fish does come into play sometimes. African cichlids and some South American cichlids for that matter are well known for shredding plants up. So definitely if you have a cichlid tank, generally live plants aren't the best option for you, but there are some options that might work. Generally your community tanks are the best type of setting, or even just small shrimp tanks, things of that nature. With a little more peaceful fish will do well. Most of these fish actually appreciate having the cover, and they should get along with the plants just as well. But certain fish, some types of plecos, tiger barbs, and some other species of barbs, goldfish, generally will eat plants as well. So there are certain things you have to look out for when choosing compatible fish for a planted aquarium. All in all though, planted aquariums are an awesome way to really dive into the natural aspect of fish keeping, kind of try to mimic nature and mimic natural systems with the added benefits of extra oxygenation and purifying the water, while also getting really cool interactions between the fish and the plants. Just the reward of watching these plants grow and being able to trim and trade them with your friends down the road. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let us know in the comment sections below if you have any questions or suggestions, and keep it fishy.